Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football Podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm tired. I am tired today. I'm joined by Kaya Kaynak.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Reuben Pinder's back.
17.
17. Yeah.
You're actually reading people's names off the running order. Is that how tired you are? Rather than just looking at us and remembering our names.
And Jon Mackenzie's here. Hi, John.
Hello.
How's it going? You okay?
Good, thanks.
Great stuff. Do you know what we talked about today?
No, but I do know that last night I was playing Rocket League.
Yeah.
And someone recognised me on Rocket League.
On Rocket League?
Recognised
Sorry,
online.
you mean your name? Because your game
exactly,
name
recognise
is
Recognise like your car or something.
Yeah, no.
This car looks a lot like Jon Mackenzie.
And he was like, please can you shout me out on the podcast? And
Wow.
I said, no, only if you score the winning goal in overtime. And Mr. Bass.
Bass? Mr.
He had a
Bass.
name that I can't really repeat, so he told me to say Mr. Bass.
Right.
Scored in overtime.
Was he on your team?
No, he was on the other team. I was
He was
playing
on the
with
other
my
team.
good friend Nathan and my good friend Mads.
Right. Okay, cool. So that's a shout out to Mr. Bass. isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And I didn't want to do this, but he did in fact achieve what I thought was
like
almost impossible for him to achieve. So
Facebook apology from back in the day
I know,
when someone
I
beat
know.
you on
What's
FIFA.
your Rocket League username?
John Mackenzie.
I see how he
not,
spotted you.
It's not hard. Yeah, it's not hard.
Don't
recognition.
out him because you're going to have so many
No, it's
people
actually
adding
it's
you.
not actually quite that. It's a bit different.
That's true. It's a bit. No one will
it
guess
does
it.
have my name in it. So,
That's the case.
but
yeah.
also I don't really play Rocket League that much anymore.
I know. Yeah, it's good that you've given it up though, isn't it? Because you hit a ceiling, didn't you? I would say.
It's easy to hit the glass ceiling in Rocket League, I would say.
Oh my god, it's so hard to push that motherfucker up. Good lord. Okay, do you know what we talked about today, Kaya?
God, no.
No. What about you, Reuben?
Pep Guardiola is now parking the bus.
Yep, we talked about that.
Manchester United should never be called Man U, and it was ever so rainy.
Oh,
when
we didn't really talk about the rain.
No. Well, should we do the rain now?
Yeah, maybe because I had a great feeling over the weekend.
Also, Palace are
You
unbeaten
did
17
actually. I was
games.
there
If
to
that gets
experience
cut,
it.
yeah, just getting that in.
Well, no, we got there, the Palace bits there. We had a great feeling. It's
I was
because we were watching, John and I watched the Man United game together, and we were talking about the rain, how good they were playing in a reservoir.
It rained, and it also rained where we were.
Exactly. It was raining everywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Funny that.
Sheet rain.
But it was a long way away.
We weren't in Manchester, Kaya.
It wasn't
That's,
raining where I
that's
was.
fine.
Yeah, lovely standing where I was as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was quite nice where I was too.
Well, I mean, it was just
So jot that down.
specifically
Kaya.
over Greenwich. It was raining for
Yeah.
some reason. Anyway, we recollected, we shared not specific memories, but vague sense memories of the feeling of playing sport in the soaking rain.
I hated it.
And then coming in afterwards, getting dry and pulling on a nice warm drink.
That is good.
Madeline moments, aren't they?
That
That's the
Madeline
best
moments.
bit. That's the best bit. I
love
a
them.
lot of people love playing football in the rain.
I love doing
I don't mind
sports
a
in
bit
the
of
rain.
drizzle.
I do
that-
like football in the proper rain.
the proper rain.
It's really fun.
I don't
It's
mind.
fun.
I don't
There's
mind.
too much. There can be too much, I think.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I think the fun comes from
level.
knowing you're going to be warm again in about
Yeah.
an hour, so it doesn't really matter.
See,
that much.
I am so skinny that I can't get warm enough if it's raining that
Yeah.
much when I'm
Does the
playing
water
football.
go through you?
It just makes
He has
me
to
cold.
move around.
Yeah, it makes me
permeable in the rain.
You have to avoid the rain.
But also, when you slide tackle and go through a puddle, and then you just
That's great.
I think
you're
the
just-
perfect
You're wet in places you don't want to be wet.
the perfect rain experience on a football field is it's not raining when you start.
Right.
You get warm and then it gets wet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then gets really bad just before you finish.
Yeah.
And
So
then you get
feel
into a
even
car
better.
and you just hear like it hammering on the windows. Yeah.
And the car door closes and oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you put Magic
Aircon
FM
on.
on.
I think putting
Yeah.
tracksuit bottoms on after playing a game of football is maybe one of my favourite
Yeah. Back in the
sensory
Like a new pair of socks.
Yeah.
sensory experience. Yeah.
Can we move on before start talking about what smelling reminds you of again? 'Cause that was
Did I do some what smelling
when we
reminds
had
me
Ian
of?
and
When my dad
And
used to watch
JJ,
me
man.
play school football in the rain, he would bring a walking. He's got bad knees. He'd bring a walking stick that would fold out into a little seat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's pretty dope.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Pretty dope.
fair
yeah.
play.
Anyway, it was raining a lot in one of the games, so we didn't talk about that, but we have just talked about it. Just to recap, we just talked about that bit, but we don't talk about it later. Here's other things. We talked about bulls for a bit, although that was quite confusing, wasn't it? There was an interesting separation game that happened earlier. Who put hair in my water? More water talk, more hair talk, but this time in inversion of it.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. And also, we move on to talk about Crystal Palace's 17-game unbeaten run, because it is a very good unbeaten run. And we play Points Are Bad, and we bring JJ in from the office to do that.
You've forgotten the really fun game we played of guess who's got the highest non-penalty expected goals in the Premier League per 90 this season so far.
We guessed who's got the highest expected goals non-penalty Premier League per 90 in the Premier League so far.
Yeah.
We did play that game, and it was a fun guessing game. Yeah.
The results were surprising, weren't they?
The results were surprising.
The results will shock you.
These results
You
will
won't believe
shock
these results. Yeah. Stick around until, I would say, the very end of the podcast to find out the answer. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. It's very funny for me. And what else can I say? Who have we got on midweek, Steve?
We haven't actually planned that yet.
I did wonder if we hadn't planned that
I
yet.
also forgot to,
All right,
So
let's plan that after.
Yeah.
Probably should
So find out.
Probably should wrap this up and plan it now. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, where else to begin, of course, rather obviously this week, than with Arsenal 1 Manchester City in what I can only describe as quite an exciting 1-1. And also, perhaps maybe, John, an incredibly historic game of football, or at least it so felt that way as I was sat there watching it, because Pep Guardiola's Manchester City recorded their lowest ever possession statistic in the Premier League. Also, isn't it Pep Guardiola's lowest ever possession statistic as a coach?
It's probably up there. There's always outlier games,
down
right?
there,
So,
as it were.
Down there. Yeah.
I just want to say I'm only saying that because that's what Steve told me before. So if it's not true,
It's also in the script with from our friends at Opta.
and it's in the script, isn't that just in the Premier League,
A
Steve?
top flight league match.
I mean, the wording says
It's Pep Guardiola's.
by a Pep Guardiola team.
Oh, well, seeing as it's not Steve and it is in fact Opta, then I'm happy to go with that.
I wasn't happy when I thought Steve had been vindicated,
me too.
but now I know it's
What's a
Opta.
stat if it just comes from Steve?
Of course, it's
Absolutely hostile work environment.
a Svat, a Steve Vat.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
A stanky.
A stank. Did people call you Stanky at school?
It did. The unbelievable thing about my surname is that, like, literally, you put any letter of the alphabet in front of it, and it's somehow mocking.
Let's try.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Banky.
Put the W in front, see what happens.
Janky is
Kanky's not good. That's a bad one. Kanky. Fanky? That sounds like baby talk.
Can I say wanky?
You just have.
Fine.
I think it's fine, isn't it?
Steve Wanky.
Find out. Mankey, good Pokemon.
Oh,
but
Mankey. Mankey wasn't a good Pokemon.
yeah, Pokemon Yellow. You get him. You get through Brock, the first badge. Dead easy.
Oh, I
Nice
guess
little tip.
early game Pokemon. A good early game Pokemon.
Oh yeah, you're not going to the Elite Four with Mankey. No,
You can't take Mankey all the
or
way.
Primate by
Steve, are
then.
you a Pokemon nerd?
Yeah.
Oh, are we talking about Pokemon?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about Steve Hankey. I was like, he's okay early game, but you can't take him all the way. Steve Hankey. What were we saying? Oh, yeah. Manchester City's this is according to Opta Steve. Manchester City's draw at the Emirates included the lowest ever possession average by a Pep Guardiola team in a top flight league match, John. That was his 601st, by the way, against Arsenal. While the two lowest have both been at Arsenal previously in the Premier League. It was 32.8% yesterday, which is quite shocking, really, isn't it? Given that many of those other games where Pep Guardiola or Manchester City's teams have registered low possession stats have been because of situational circumstances like a red card.
Yeah, usually early in the game as well. Yeah, I think this is interesting because you were saying beforehand it felt quite historic, and I think it kind of is because it does represent maybe the decline of the approach that Guardiola wants to adopt. So
because he intentionally moved away from it, right? It's not like something happened in the game where he brought on 14 centre backs.
I mean, I think by the end it was definitely intentional that they were sitting deep. They went to a back five, which they've done in other games this season as well at the end of games. But I guess for me, the difficulty here is that Guardiola wants to play in a certain way. And he came out after the game yesterday and made some comments in the media basically saying, this is not how I want to play. He says, I was suffering, like Spanish people like to say. I'm not going to pronounce it because apparently Spanish pronunciation is not a good thing for me.
Why do Spanish people like to suffer? Can we leave that bit in?
No,
I'll hand it over to Reuben.
There's a verb in Spanish, sufrir, which is kind of what they use in footballing parlance to mean like dig in.
Oh.
So we would say, oh, we really had to dig into it at that point. So then when Spanish managers come to England, it gets translated as suffer.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And then they say, yeah, we really had to suffer. And then you hear English managers now picking it up from their Spanish colleagues.
Right.
In the same way, like, you know,
England,
moment, like, oh, we're in a difficult moment. Same thing.
I would say, though, in England, the notion of digging in would be considered a sort of heroic act, wouldn't it? Not to suffer, but something to be celebrated. That perhaps suggesting an interesting cultural difference there.
Yeah, potentially.
Mm.
Well, I think interestingly in this quote, he did make it sound like he was really not enjoying it. And what he says there is he's like, I don't want the ball to be near Donnarumma. I want it to be near David Raya. That's a sort of underlying principle of the way that Guardiola plays. And to achieve that, he does two things. One of them is to possess the ball and try and get it as high up the pitch as possible and control the game up there. Because if you lose it, you're then a long way away from your own goal. You're also close to the opponent's goal as well. But also when the opponent have the ball, he wants to press up high to keep them away from the goal as well. And Guardiola's been able to dominate for 15 years playing in that way. They've been able to be good enough in possession to be able to force opponents back, and they've been good enough out of possession to keep opponents at arm's length.
Hands length.
Hands length is quite close, yeah.
Arm's length.
I could do a lot of damage within hands length.
You could also
arm's length.
But in the football terms, arm's length is actually quite close also.
Right.
So I'm using it in a metaphorical sense before people point this out. And what's I think started to happen now is that because of the changing tactical landscape, particularly I think out of possession, teams are just more physical. And they're trying to go man-to-man more, right? So that changes the spaces that are available to you in build-up. I think previously when teams were playing against zonal defences, the idea is you find the space in between the lines and progress the ball in that way. And if the team wants to stop there being so much space, they compact that by dropping deeper. So it creates space in your build-up line, so it's much easier for you to keep the ball. And what you do then, if you're smart at build-up, is you force the opponent deeper and deeper and deeper, squeeze them into their own end, and eventually you hope to score a goal. And obviously, to play aggressive man-to-man stuff now, as teams are starting to do, you need to be physical, which is different to the kind of profile that Guardiola usually has in more advanced areas. And I think because teams are now going man-to-man, City are starting to lose their edge a little bit. And so that manifests itself as not being able to keep the ball as well as they used to be able to. Especially in build-up, first phase build-up, you don't have space around you in possession. It's now you're constantly under pressure from the opponents all the time. But also when teams are going much more direct, so it's much harder to keep them deep in their own half. And I think the reality then is that if you can't do either of those things well, what will often end up happening is you end up squeezed back into your own box yourself, right? Which is exactly what Guardiola wants to force other teams to do. So we put out a short. We'll put a short out later. We're on Monday. So how do I talk about time?
I don't know, but I'm enjoying what's happening now.
Yeah,
keep trying.
We've put a short out on Monday, which will be after this comes out, right?
What's it about?
No, the short will go out first, and then this will go out afterwards.
Okay. So we've put out a short, which essentially...
The short, so just to be clear, is it already out?
It may be, or
but
may
is
not.
It out now, or is it out
now? Not now, but it is out now.
But it's out now. Yeah. Not now, though.
Not now.
Yeah.
But we're sort of noting the irony that Pep Guardiola has always said, I want to keep the ball away from the goal. I don't want it to be near my goal, because if you do that, you eventually will concede. If you're defending deep, the opponent has a lot of possession, they can actually score. And that's exactly what happened in the Arsenal game, right? So almost playing in that way, Guardiola sort of proved himself right by conceding right at the end. But
that's true.
The big question, I suppose, is like how much of it was intentional on the part of City and how much of it was just forced by Arsenal being quite good, City being quite tired.
And by the game state, right? Which is that they scored pretty early in the first half.
But they really weren't trying to score in the way that they usually try and score. They really weren't trying to defend in the way they usually try and defend. So you're seeing players like, Phil Foden, just as you were saying, like just clearing the ball out a lot, when usually City would want to be like, can I take a touch here and then find a teammate and consolidate possession? They seem quite happy to just be like, we'll get rid of the ball, we'll stay in a compact block.
Yeah, it seemed pretty intentional watching it. It seemed like they'd been drilled to do it.
There was plenty of times when Doku and Foden were both tracking their
Really deep.
opposite fullbacks to the point that City then ended up in a back six.
Yeah.
Or back,
It was
5-1.
It was definitely intentional. Like
Yeah.
he took off Foden for Ake and Haaland for Nico Gonzalez. I think no one forced him to do
And
that.
then Stones came on as well.
Yeah, Arsenal's
but then I
tactics
guess,
didn't
like-
force Guardiola dice to turn into Guardiola dice. Like that happened by his choice.
Yeah.
But
But then I
chose
guess
to
the
do
question is like, was it intentional from before the game, or was it intentional because of the game state when
But
the
it happened.
substitutions
I think those subs were around the hour mark. Like they were quite early on, weren't they?
Yeah,
I think they got to a point where they definitely wanted to be like, okay, we're bedding in now.
City were 1-0 up. They wanted
But this
to
was
hold.
60 minutes into the game, and I think it's difficult because it's basically a spectrum, right? It's you can go into a game being like, we want to control the game in a certain way, but if we don't do that, then we're going to end up playing in a different way. And I think in that sense, it was intentional, but I think it was still like the worst case scenario. I think they would have been like, we still want to possess the ball and hold it higher up the field. But
And to be clear, I think what I'm really talking about is what happened before 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, they do not look like the same team from a year ago or from 2 years ago. Even before they scored their goal, they looked like they were playing different football. They were much more direct. They were off the ball far more often. They seemed happy to concede possession. I think it was in those moments that I watched it and thought, what is this? This seems like a significant turning point. I thought Pep Guardiola had like made some decision to completely change who he was.
I was quite surprised by that, given the midfield that Arsenal started. Like, they're all good players, but like Marino playing as kind of like the most advanced player didn't strike me as a technical imbalance. You know, like maybe if Pep Guardiola thought his midfield didn't have the legs or the quality to win that battle, then he kind of goes, okay, we'll concede possession and we'll play slightly differently. But in theory, that City still probably had just as enough technical quality on the pitch to dominate possession if they wanted to.
I think that selection though was because he expected City to press as high as they have been in the previous games and to come out and try and go after Arsenal.
Yeah.
In which case, having Marino up front to when they go long and win the duels made more sense. But because City sat back, that kind of became redundant, which I guess is why he changed it so early on.
That's why it seemed kind of smart. Like for the first 60 minutes, I thought, oh, Guardiola's done it again. Like, you know, all they were talking about, all the commentary team were talking about was Arteta's admittedly fantastic record against Guardiola. And I think being unbeaten again in this game has made it 5 in a row, which is
first ever
person to do that against Pep Guardiola. So, you know, that's an incredible achievement. And also causes me to wonder whether Guardiola does the traditional overthink or if that exists. But I don't know. I for the first hour, I was thinking, oh, here we go. Here's the new Guardiola era. I'm watching Maresca try and do something at Chelsea that Pep did 3 years ago. I'm watching Arteta try and do something at Arsenal that's like an inversion of something that Guardiola was doing 6 years ago. All these other elite teams are trying, things that Guardiola's left in his dust, and now he's moving on to the next thing. By the end of the game, when it's 1-1, and I'm remembering Guardiola's philosophy saying this exact thing would happen, I feel differently about it. I do think also this is like a very results-biased conversation, because if Man City win that game 1-0, I don't think we're having a different conversation, but I think the conversation that's being had generally is Pep Guardiola's done a genius move because he's galaxy-brained the game.
We're smarter than everybody else, so we're
better than other people. Absolutely, 100%. Thanks for picking. I didn't know if it needed to be said aloud.
Right? We'd be having the same conversation.
I think we'd be having about how if it had been a draw. But I genuinely believe people would say Pep Guardiola, the new era, he's galaxy-brained it again. You know, he sees 10 yards ahead. As it happens, they conceded in the final minutes of the game.
I don't think it's historic in the sense of like it represents anything about Guardiola. So as an individual, I think that he's had to make a sort of pragmatic decision on the basis of the fact. And we could talk about, the out of possession stuff. They've tried some absolutely batshit ideas in the last few games. And I think in part that's because they've realized that they aren't able to control games in the same way that they used to. So they're trying to be even more extreme to see if it works. And it hasn't worked. The Brighton game is a great example of that, where the game turns over very quickly because they're being so aggressive, teams can actually get in behind them. So to me, it almost feels as though he's gone like, okay, we tried being more aggressive, now let's try the opposite.
Well, that's kind of my point, though. When I say historic, I mean, do you think when books are written about this in the future, that this game will be a milestone game in the decline of Pep Guardiola? That's my question. Like, will this specific match be pointed at as a milestone along that story?
Yeah, potentially, but I think that the historicity of this game.
No, keep saying
historicality.
The historiography, John. That's the word.
The fact that this game is so historic.
Are you saying that now or now?
the fact that this game is so historic, I think, is more that it represents a realization, maybe just in the public sphere, even that the way that Guardiola used to dominate is no longer.
It's dead.
So dangerous.
Oh.
Well, so the issue,
I was helping you be.
We talked about him dominating for 15 years, playing the same way, right? And the idea was we can possess the ball high up the pitch, we can defend the transitions, and we can keep opponents back in their own half when they're trying to build up.
Yeah.
And roughly speaking, Guardiola could play the same way in almost every game because he could force teams to have to play the way that he wanted to by the way that he adopted, the way that the approach that he adopted, which is why it was so dangerous, and it's why people couldn't think outside of, well, this is the best way to play. But I think what we're starting to see now, and I mentioned before, it's partly to do with the change in out of possession approaches, where teams are now forcing the issue for City a little bit more. And what that means is that there's different ways to play now against City. You can be aggressive against them and cause them problems. And as a result, I think what we've seen over the last few seasons, maybe even longer, is that Guardiola's had to evolve his approach by introducing bringing in Erling Haaland, for example, or bringing in Ederson. Both of those, I would say, are responses to teams now going more aggressive man-to-man pressing high up, because the space then opens up behind the press, whereas before, as we were saying, when teams are playing zonally, they tend to drop off and allow space around your build-up. Now the space is the other way around. So you bring in someone like Ederson, you bring in someone like Haaland, and suddenly you can go directly over that press and cause them problems. And we've seen City do that quite a lot. In 2022-23, City started using Roberto De Zerbi's principles when they were on the way to their treble. And the reason they did that is because, again, if you can use De Zerbi's principles, you can pass through these aggressive high presses and then find space in behind and then play directly and play quite quickly. And I think that's great because what he's done is developed like a more tactical diversity to be able to play in different ways. But it means that they can't play as well, I think, in the way that they were so good at for 15 years or for a long period, because you brought in Haaland, right? And when you bring in Haaland, yes, against low blocks, he's like a difference maker in terms of you can get the ball to him and he'll score. But in terms of actually pulling blocks apart and creating space, it's just much more dangerous to do that with false nines, the systems that Pep's used
or indeed
before.
the version of Erling Haaland that dropped deep and then did an incredible through ball for the City goal.
But I think the difference is then that like City now have to be way more diverse, and it means that they're not as good at some of the things as they used to be.
Yeah.
But it also means that some teams are going to be better to play in one way than another, which means that that City are going into games, in some games, actually being at a disadvantage than they might have been in the past, because the game is now more diverse. There's different ways of playing, there's different ways of winning, and I think this represents that that people can be like, okay, the Guardiola approach of like almost one size fits all with enough win success that they can consistently win leagues. That's now not there anymore. And as you say, you've got like Arteta this weekend, like looking like the old form of City, where it's like, they're constantly trying to break down teams in low blocks and it doesn't look very dangerous or threatening, etc., for long periods of time. You've got Maresca sort of doing the same, right, when they're trying to break down Man United and they all they can do is pass the ball through the middle. The big question being, well, why not try and draw teams out to create space to attack, or why not try and get direct balls in behind teams' defences, etc.
So I'm not totally clear. Are we saying Daddy's on the wane or no?
I think
we'll know more when they play. If he parks the bus again against Burnley next weekend, then I think we'll know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to do that against many teams, but I think the fact that he's had to do it suggests that he's not going to go into every game now being like, we play our game and it will be good enough to beat anyone on our day. And in the past when City dropped points, it's like, okay, we got caught on the break, right? And we created 2 XG of low value chances, which usually you'd expect one of them to go in, and the other team has had. I mean, think of like it's the FA Cup final, right? Like it's like that's the classic example of a game where City, generate enough chances to probably win or draw, but they don't, and Palace score their break, and it's obviously a brilliant goal. But those are the games that City lose. You can look at that and be like, is it a tactical flaw in the system? well, I mean, arguably you can argue arguably you can argue anything, I suppose, but you can argue that that's not a tactical problem. It's just like the reality of if you play in a certain way all the time, some teams are going to. Pep Guardiola has a 70% win ratio through his whole career, basically. That means 3 in 10 games he's not winning. But 70% will win you leagues, right? So he's happy to take that approach. Whereas I feel like now the needle has swung now so that they can't play that way. The games have become much more difficult to win as consistently. And as a result, he's no longer as inevitable as he once seemed to be. So I think what we'll see from him now is probably him having to. I mean, I guess he's already done it, right? He's brought in Haaland, he's brought in Edison, he's used De Zerbi's ideas.
Yeah.
That gives them the ability to be more tactically diverse. But I think as soon as you start going down the diverse route, it means you're not as good at the thing that used to be like elite at, and you're competing with other teams to be as good at the other things that you're doing, right?
I suppose it's interesting with City just because they felt inevitable for so long that you would watch them in that treble year and before. You watch them and you think, not only is no team ever going to win ever again, apart from Manchester City, that's how good they were, but also that Guardiola will be, an immortal relic of football that will live on forever, and he could never be bested. The environment could never change such that he wouldn't be able to make the best of it in every single situation. It's a bit like, I don't know, growing up and realizing that your parents are going to die or something. It's like there is an unshakable reality about it, which is why I think it was so weird to watch that game. And indeed see, despite the fact, Kaya, that Mikel Arteta, the young buck, was still very cautious in his team selection, it was enough to ruffle the feathers of the old bull.
Do bulls have feathers?
Yes, the bulls.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, they do. I think you might be thinking of dinosaurs, which
they definitely don't have feathers.
You thought bulls had scales, but it turns out through a lot of paleontology research that bulls actually had feathers.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, well I've learned
they
something
can't
new.
fly, but they can prune.
Prune.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pruny bull.
Do you mean preen?
No, they prune each other. Yeah. And they preen, yeah. Bull, bulls.
I know bulls.
Yeah, bulls.
They seem to be struggling with the question.
I've kind of forgotten what the question was, to be honest.
What's wrong with you? I don't understand.
So have I.
Well, that's okay. I didn't ask you the question.
No, I know. But
you don't need to
is the question
remember.
are you worried about Arteta if Guardiola is changing? And
was there a question?
Oh, I don't know.
Did I ask a question?
You said something about.
You posed
bulls.
a question to Kaya.
You said something about ruffling bulls' feathers.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. No. I don't think I would have said that.
It must have been us. We must have interpreted it.
I think you may have all interpreted what.
And then you start talking about dinosaurs' feathers as well.
Dinosaurs did have feathers, to be fair.
Yeah, not all of them though.
Some of them though.
Yeah.
You know that Opta Joe stat about the possession being and the two lowest top flight league matches being both against Arsenal for Guardiola. Well, there is a match in which he had slightly more than the 32.8, but even less than the 36.5 from those 2 years ago when they played Barcelona in the Champions League in 2016. So he'd only just arrived. And they're back five that day. Willy Caballero, Pablo Zabaleta, Nicolas Otamendi, John Stones, Alexander Kolarov.
Yeah. I love Kolarov and Zabaleta were great together.
And obviously that was against a Barcelona team that had Messi, Neymar and Suarez.
Yeah.
So in that context, you can kind of understand, well, he's still got old cloggers that he doesn't want. He's against the best attack in the world. He's going to have to do that. But in these scenarios, it feels more...
He's pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
And I think people miss...
Arteta?
Yeah. No,
Guardiola.
I think people miss that fact because he usually is playing what seems to be like quite progressive and aggressive football.
Usually the most pragmatic thing he can do is play all the best players.
Yeah. But and that's why he wants to keep the ball away from his goal, right? It's like the opposite of Mourinho, where he's like, because Mourinho is pragmatic, he wants to absorb pressure and hit on the break, and Guardiola does it the other way around. And the point we made is that the reason why Guardiola doesn't like it is because if you score a goal playing that way, you have to then hang on to your lead for a long, long period of time, give the opponent a lot of the ball, and in the end, all it took was one lapse of concentration and Arsenal were level.
Lovely goal, though, we should say. Let me come to you, Kaya, though, and ask you about Bulls.
Yes.
No, I want to ask you about Mikel Arteta's team selection, because he was being criticised for it during the game. Some felt that the approach was too cautious. I think others feel still as though the game was there for the winning, potentially. What do you think about his team selection?
Yeah, I touched on that a little bit before, but I think the selection was kind of fine for a big game because I think everyone expected Man City to play a certain way that they didn't end up playing. So when Man City press super high, as they have done in previous games, and John's done analysis on previous episodes, the best way is just clip it over them to a fullback or attacking midfielder, and there aren't too many attacking midfielders who are better at winning aerial duels than Mikel Merino. So kind of made sense if that was the game plan, which I think 99.9% of people expected. But when it wasn't the game plan, and it was clear that it wasn't the game plan for City, Arteta evolved. And I actually think, there's lots of criticism of him for being negative and stuff, but I kind of think it was the correct decision originally. Yeah. And then when it was proved to be the wrong decision, he changed quite quickly. He didn't hang around and wait and lead Merino on. He brought Eze on, which...
He evolved within the game.
He evolved within the game.
It's incredible, isn't it? Other managers would just be making a substitution, but Mikel Arteta is evolving within the game.
Much like the dinosaur didn't. he evolved. I thought he made the right calls. I thought Arsenal missed Ødegaard a lot, particularly someone to progress the ball, and when they had a lot of possession around the edge of the City box, someone to break them down. And I actually thought, Eze was great, but I thought he was great when the game was kind of stretched and a bit sporadic in those long sequences of possession when Arsenal had the ball and couldn't break City down. I don't know that Eze did as much as you would have hoped him to do,
but he did pass the ball for the goal.
He did do what I hoped him to do at the very end.
Do you think that maybe Guardiola decided to sit deeper because he was like, Ødegaard isn't available? And
they can't do anything. They can't break us down.
Yeah, and even with Eze, I think with Eze it's interesting because he's joined Arsenal, but he's previously played at Palace the whole time. And Palace don't often play in those sorts of games, right, where they have, when they're trying to break it down a low block, right? So, and I think that's kind of interesting from some of the comments that were said midweek when they were playing at Athletic Club. There was a clip that was doing the rounds on social media.
I didn't say anything.
Carry on, John.
Reuben and I exchanged a glance. We were scared. We were scared when you said it.
You exchanged a glance that was just like this.
We went no. We went like this. We went.
No, I just thought it was funny.
And that reminds me of my other favourite Spanish club.
Just call them Bilbao. It'll save you a lot of...
Oh, no, that gets people mad too.
Oh, sorry.
Wait,
that genuinely annoys people, yeah.
Before we move on, though, we should... You text...
Can I finish my thought?
No. But you can afterwards. You text the WhatsApp group with the perfect explanation. And as soon as you said this, I was like, oh, that does make sense. Say it now.
I'd like to say two things.
No, only one.
No, two things. Okay. Firstly, I feel as though in the comments I got unfairly attacked for... apparently trying to pronounce a word like the Spanish word.
Don't say this bit. No. You're just baiting the commenters. Okay. You're giving them what they want, John.
Okay.
And me. What's the thing you said?
I said that the difference for me between the hard T and the soft T is that whenever I'm saying a soft T, my tongue is between my lips. So I would say...
Are we seriously back here again?
Atletico.
Your tongue.
No, don't. We have done this before on the podcast. John does say tongue.
Okay, no problem.
What do you say?
Tongue.
We've literally had this conversation with JJ and you.
Sorry.
About 2 years ago, we did tongue and tongue.
My tongue is between my teeth, so I say Atletico.
Athlete.
But when I'm saying Atletico,
Atletico,
my tongue is in behind my teeth.
It sounds very Welsh to me. Llandudno. Llandulis,
Atletico.
Atletico Madrid.
But as we said outside the studio, that's actually not the same sound. Anyway, there was a clip doing the rounds on social media about
Eze. And Arteta was getting annoyed at him seemingly on the touchline during that game because he went inside when he should have stayed outside something. And people were saying, he's having his wings clipped. He's not being able to be free.
Yeah,
being Grealished, I think was the technical term.
Yeah. And I think there's explanations for why that was happening, and you can talk about the tactical reasons why that is going on. But I think what's clear from that is that Eze isn't used to playing in a positional system, and I think as a result of that, you can't just expect him to immediately know exactly the best decisions to make on the pitch in that kind of game. So whereas with I think Ødegaard, you would probably get a little bit more upside just purely from the fact that he's familiar with the system. So I think that you could maybe argue that Guardiola was just like, okay, they're not going to actually be able to break us down particularly well. So it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if we do sit deep in a low block and in the end, right, that when they did break the low block, it was because they actually stepped up a little bit and there was space in behind and they played the ball in. So you could argue it's a smart decision.
What does this mean to Arsenal, though, in their season, do you think? Because they are now some points distance off of Liverpool in first. 5 points difference off of Liverpool. I thought Steve Hankey was waving to you. But no, he's saying that they're 5 points behind Liverpool. Although they would have exited that game with a little bit of momentum, I would expect. I don't think you'd be sitting in the Arsenal dressing room afterwards and feeling that it was a hugely wasted opportunity. It's not a terrible result, right?
I think the frustration from an Arsenal point of view will be that game felt quite winnable.
Right.
City defended really well, but Arsenal probably should have done more to try and break them down.
Right.
And
what was more, though? Because I watched that game and I thought, I was kind of surprised Arsenal scored. It felt a little bit inevitable, but the goal was certainly, that had a lot of randomness to it.
Yeah, it was
in
the
one
kind
of
of goal that only comes when the game is completely stretched in the last minute and everyone's panicking and hoping to end it. And also, I think there was the question of whether Calafiori fouled Gonzalez in the build-up, and I think City players were appealing for that. And
right.
Lots of stuff was going on.
So was it really winnable?
Yes, in the sense that I think a big team like Arsenal, when they face low blocks for 81 minutes, should be able to break them down enough to get 3 points, which would have been crucial. But I think listen, Arsenal have conceded 1 goal from open play in their opening 5 matches, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
they've looked defensively really strong, literally the entire season, apart from that one moment when Gabriel stepped up too much.
Yeah.
So it's. I think it's hard to. Obviously, the 5 points is actually quite a big gap, and it's going to be difficult to close. It reminds me a lot of last season, actually, when Arsenal had a lot of difficult fixtures early on. Liverpool won all their games at the start, I think, except for Forest. And the gap was eventually too big to overcome, and Arsenal never really got close. And my fear is that gap keeps getting bigger. And now for Arsenal, every single game becomes must win, because Liverpool seem to be winning every single game, whether they play well or not. But
they haven't played City yet, though, right?
No, they
haven't played Arsenal yet.
Liverpool have played Arsenal.
Yeah, they played Arsenal.
They beat Arsenal.
Oh, they did. They're winning every game, Kaya. I can see why you
We did a podcast on that. You made fun of me for it.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't recall.
It was bleak.
Right.
Yes, so Liverpool look like a team who are kind of going to do a lot of what they did last season, which means that Arsenal are going to have to try and catch them. And those 5 points look like a big gap now. But important thing for Arsenal is they have that bench, they have that quality to bring off the bench, and having Eze and Saka and Martinelli to come off the bench is a superpower they didn't have last season.
That's true.
Big time. And
last season they would have lost this game, right?
Definitely. What
did this game say to you, Reuben?
I just made me miss Eze.
Made you miss Eze?
Yeah. What a pass.
Was a lovely pass. It was a fantastic goal as well, we should say.
He's happy now, though.
He's made it.
Yeah.
He's happy. He's made it. No, yeah.
He's finally achieved his dream.
Arsenal were good. City were, I have nothing more to add. They've analysed it very well.
Sure.
But it shapes up for an interesting title race.
Yeah,
I like when big teams drop points.
I do like the fact that you said if they played this game last season, they would have lost when they won. Didn't win 5-1.
Different City team, though. If you take Arsenal last season and City now.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's what he meant.
Yeah. Well, Steve Hankey also includes here.
I love
bulls.
it when Steve adds things.
A young bull is not called a buck. That's a young male deer.
Obviously.
Well, so a young deer is unlikely to fight a father bull, which is also known as a sire. That's what Steve says there. A sire may fight a young bull, though, and in Australia, a young bull is known as a Mickey due to separation game next.
Mickey Arteta.
That's what Steve wrote in there. I'm more of a fan when I imagine the fighting of animals. I like to imagine different animals fighting each other. Steve,
you mix them up.
Yeah, I want to see a bull fight an old deer, a young deer with a stag horn. Because the bull. Oh no, the bull has horns. Yeah.
Famous.
You grab the bull by the horns, don't you?
That's what you do. But you don't grab the stag by the.
You don't grab the bull by the feathers. That's definitely not what happens.
I do. Should we play the separation game, Reuben?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I get to play. It's been a while since I've been able to play. There'll be a break in the middle of the separation game.
Cool. Okay.
Do you remember?
So, yes, I do. Sorry, it's been a couple of weeks. The separation game this week, we're going all the way back in time to the dribbling wizard that is John Barnes.
Oh, Barnesy. How exciting.
And then forward.
Did anyone call him Barnesy?
No.
Johnny
He's
B.
a little before my time, but I reckon people called him Barnesy.
Well, every footballer gets nicknamed to their surname with a Y, don't they?
Yeah.
It was more of a cricket thing, actually. The entire England cricket team is Rooty, Stokesy, etc.
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie,
doesn't really
yeah.
work. Pinder, he doesn't work.
No.
Devine, he doesn't really work.
Devine?
Divining.
Divine intervention, my friend. Hey, yeah.
John Barnes to Rafa van der Vaart.
Oh, Van der Vaart. Yes, please. Let's have a party with Rafael van der Vaart. Okay, I feel as though that should be achievable in 2.
It's achievable in 1.
It's achievable in 1. One player played with both Rafael van der Vaart and Barnesy. All right, let's have a break. And then when we come back, hopefully I'll have worked out who that is. And we're back. What a break that was. A separation. I feel a bit sad, though, because I found out before the break that it was possible in 1. Everyone seems to have won it. And I didn't want it. I two'd it.
That is a shame. But can I hear your 2 first,
You
please?
didn't want it enough.
I didn't want it enough. I too bad
too
guy.
You
tired.
tried too hard.
I too bad guy. My 2 isn't even good. It's actually a bad.
Does it
2.
involve a goalkeeper?
No, but it involves 2 players from the same team.
Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
And I also then I went to the kitchen and I closed all my tabs. So this is just from memory. It is only 2 names. You would think it would be
If it's
easier
from
than
memory,
one
just
of the 2.
do a 1 link.
Why is-
and then no one checks.
Why is going to the kitchen and closing all your tabs related?
Because my brain works like
Do you
He
when
doesn't
you ever,
trust anyone.
when you leave
he
your
went and
laptop?
got he got the water
No, it's
himself.
not.
you
I
have to
didn't
close everything whenever you leave your laptop and then reopen.
No, I closed.
He doesn't trust
I
you,
closed it
Reuben.
before because I was like, it's only 2 names. I'll remember those.
Right.
And then there was an extended break where there was the situation where there was hair in my water, and I had to go and get another water. And there was a lot of accusations thrown around about that. Just want to make it clear, I don't believe any of them. Steve Hankey is. You should have heard what these guys were saying when you were out of the
You
room.
sound quite. You sound quite paranoid, to be honest. You
Paranoid?
got your own water. You didn't want Reuben to read your screen. You okay?
No, I've eaten too much cake. I've got it's my birthday today.
Today?
It's my birthday
Happy
today.
birthday.
Oh,
Thanks.
happy birthday.
And I
Wow.
ate too much cake yesterday. But when I say too much cake, I mean I ate too much cake. I ate more cake than for maybe 3 or 4 people. And also I had a pizza.
Nice.
And last night...
Are you turning 9? Is there a bouncy cast?
You have
I
jelly.
don't remember
as
how many
well.
candles there were. But last night I thought, I feel a bit gassy. And I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I've eaten a brick or something. And it's just slowly passing through
Which I
my
wouldn't
body.
put past it with your culinary interests. A
A
brick.
brick.
It's the right colour.
Yeah, absolutely the right colour.
Give
Anyway,
me a 2, go on.
so I'm slow off the bat. Here's my 2 from memory. Van der Vaart
Yeah.
played with Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid.
Yeah, for a year. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Who played with Jamie Carragher at Liverpool, who I assume played with John Barnes in
This is a very JJ
Don't
route.
know
this.
about that.
Jamie Carragher must have been at Liverpool in 97.
Yeah.
Must have been.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Debut, 2 league appearances in 96,
There
97.
you go. And
Just
that's
about by
that's John
nose.
Barnes' final season, yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't
Did
check
John
that.
Barnes play
That's
that
just
season?
that's just football knowledge off the
Straight
nose.
off the dome.
Off the nose, yeah, off the dome. Yeah. It came out of my nose. Yeah. Anyway, that's a 2. That's a 2er.
John Barnes did play that season, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
great.
nice work.
Yeah.
Xabi Alonso and Jamie Carragher. Kaya, you claim to have got it in 1.
I do. I also had a Xabi Alonso related tour, if you want to hear
Oh,
that.
yeah, who's your other?
My other one's Didi Hamann, who played at Newcastle with John Barnes.
There's no need
That's
to show
nicer.
off that you also did my
That's
route
much
as
nicer.
well as your own.
Showboating. I'm having fun.
He did it better, though, because he used
Yeah.
Hamann at Newcastle.
Yeah. I could have done Hamann. Oh, no, I couldn't have done Hamann. Anyway, my 1 is Scott Parker, who I believe played with John Barnes in his final season at Charlton and then played with Van der Vaart in his final season at Spurs.
Correct.
So
Scott
let me
Parker,
let me
who-
get this straight. You just did the standard look at John Barnes' most recent club and see if you spot a player.
I
That's what
played the game.
That
Yeah.
is
That's
not
what I
good.
did. I played the game.
That I would say
very
that's-
good.
It is very good. All I'm saying is from my own fun, for my own edification, I add in a little extra challenge for myself, which is to try to be creative about it, not just to go when it's an old player to the most recent team and look at it, see if there's a player that you
I'd like to point out that I
recognise.
actually originally didn't do that, and I showed my
I
working.
originally did that and arrived at Scott Parker as well.
Okay.
But I would
And
say
better.
usually I do try and do fun routes, but like it's so rare that I ever get one that I just
know.
had to do.
It's
it.
rare that there's a
I came
one.
up with a fun 2 when me and Steve were planning this. Let me just find it. Oh, yeah. Aaron Hughes from a recent separation game as well played with John Barnes at Newcastle, and of course played with Moussa Dembele at Fulham. And Moussa Dembele
That's nice.
would have played for a season with Van der Vaart.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
lovely.
12-13?
Yeah.
No, because
No,
Van der Vaart
11,
left
12.
in 2012, according to this.
So Dembele joined in 2012, didn't he? At Spurs.
Ooh, so
Can I
like-
say,
I was wrong then. I don't
Yeah.
think Dembele and back. Okay, never mind. I got it wrong.
when I play a version of this game on my movie podcast with movies, for a while we had a rule where, instead of it just being A to B, it was A to C to B, where you had to go via a route.
Yeah,
you do A to
we've
B to
discussed
C?
this. Yeah,
I wonder if next week, just for fun, can we have a separation game where we have to go from A to B but via C?
yeah.
Isn't
sure.
that just 2 separation games in one?
There's no need to drain all the romance out.
Sorry.
Should that via always be James Milner?
Well, no, because I think that's the Kevin Bacon thing, right?
Yeah.
That's like I think it's more fun because the reason it would be 2 separation games is because you could have 2 players who are currently on the same team play together, but you have to get between
Right,
them
yeah,
via
yeah.
Rivaldo or something. It's sort of a loop-de-loop.
That's nice. That is nice.
That could be fun.
Speaking of Rivaldo, something I noticed just to go back to the City Arsenal game.
You put Rivaldo in the what? I think that's why he's in my brain. 'Cause
Yeah,
you put him in the WhatsApp
because
chat.
Bernardo Silva decided to drop down a la Ronaldo versus Turkey in 2002
Yep.
when Trossard threw the
Rivaldo.
ball back at him.
I think it wasn't as bad as that. I think the ball
No, it
did
wasn't
go
as bad as
somewhat
that.
near his
It
testicles.
looked painful,
Yeah.
but you can tell from the way that he moved that the fall was extremely unnatural.
Sure.
I was kind of surprised that Trossard didn't get sent off for that. I know that
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva did the same thing, but he did just yeet the ball at someone.
What are you, the PGMOL? What is
No,
this?
obviously not, because they didn't send him off because they're terrified.
This
of
time. They
Arsenal
sent him off
fans
last
now.
time.
But I don't know. Can you just throw a ball at someone like that? And
I
get
would
away
argue
with
that's more egregious than the kicking the ball that Trossard got sent off for last year.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
agree with me then?
Yeah.
I'll
It's
take
a-
that.
it's a
Given that
fair
he should have been sent off for that.
If you were rewriting the rules now from scratch,
Oh, yeah.
if you were to aggressively and violently yeet a football at someone else, and by yeet I mean throw, obviously,
I mean,
or kick.
that one was
to
different than just
intentionally
you
damage.
can get away with it and just throw a ball at
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
But he properly retaliated for having the
He
ball thrown.
he pelted it.
He underarmed through it, right?
It was
And
a
he sort
pellet.
of went like that.
Like
it
a
was-
basketball
Yeah,
chest
it was
pass.
yeah. Would you give a red card for that if you were rewriting the rules?
This is a good question, I think.
Probably not.
Conveniently.
What if it was Erling Haaland that did it?
Yeah, definitely.
What was the thing with Erling Haaland and
He did that to Gabriel last year,
Oh,
actually.
he bounced it off his head after
Yeah.
Stones' equaliser. Yeah.
Yeah, when Gabriel wasn't looking.
That was very
It's very funny.
That wasn't a yeet, though.
This
That
is
was a
the thing.
little-
I want ag and comedy in football. I think it makes the whole product better. But if you are going to write the rules again, you would probably have to say, yes, that is a red card.
Well,
and then in the moment, find a way not to give it.
You know what is
Yeah.
interesting?
If they
It's-
picked up something else and threw it at someone, like if it was
chair.
anything
What
other
else
than a
would they
ball,
get on the
Yeah,
take a
but-
shoe off and throw the shoe.
Well, then,
or-
yes,
or
that could
like-
cause a lot of
different.
damage.
Let's say
studded
that's-
boot to the head
okay,
would hurt.
what's
That is apples and that's
What's an object then
pointless
that's the
comparison
same
there.
as the ball?
the
that's like
VAR
similar.
machine.
Yeah, let's say someone threw on, I don't know,
a shin pad.
a shin pad, and you threw the shin pad at another player, you'd get a red card, right?
Yeah.
It's just because it's the ball that it's a different
Well,
rule.
but yeah, and boots are obviously way more dangerous.
What
the ball
is the-
you're meant to
what is the
touch,
actual
you're meant
rule?
to hit.
Is there a rule?
No,
about
it would fall under violent conduct, wouldn't it? But I think the referee just wanted to probably keep every player on the pitch and told them both to grow up.
Bernardo Silva was on a yellow at the time, so if he'd done the classic yellow each, then he would have been sending Silva off. So that's probably why he didn't give any yellows, would be my guess.
Sure.
The problem is that the rules are always really vague, aren't they? Like, what constitutes violent conduct? Excessive force, brutality.
And then they try to make them less vague, like in the context of VAR, whereby they say only for clear and obvious things. Two
Yeah.
words that are very subjective.
Throwing an object at an opponent or other person with excessive force. I mean, that's the rule.
That would count as a red
I think-
card.
I think that would.
The
right?
ball is an object.
And he did throw it excessively.
The
He
force
wasn't,
was
he wasn't
excessive.
giving it to him, was he? He was throwing
No,
it at him.
I
There was a
dunno.
difference, yeah. But I'm glad they weren't.
Yeah,
sent
I'm
off
glad
for
they
it.
weren't. too.
I'm glad they weren't.
But,
Should I say I'm not glad? Or?
I don't know. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Clearly, big games do get refereed differently.
Yeah.
It's very.
I think that's
It's
fine.
like the Chelsea Man United game. Like,
Sure.
Casemiro got sent off because there was already a player sent off. And it
Well,
was like,
whoa now, Nelly. Let's do that game because that's next up on the agenda here. Man Steve has written Man-Ud 2, 1 Chelsea. This Man-Ud, one of the new Premier
He
League
also spelled
teams.
Van der Vaart wrong in our separation.
Did he?
Yeah, I fixed it.
Steve Hankey.
Anyone else whilst we're here?
Anything else?
I think you're just great, Steve. You know.
Oh, thanks, John.
Anyway, it's Man United now. 2, 1 Chelsea. Man United here, this is what Steve's written next to my name. Man United rose to the lofty heights of 11th in the table with an eventful win over Chelsea at a rain-soaked Old
You can tell he grew
Trafford.
up reading the newspaper in the 90s, can't you?
The weather was wet in Manchester as Manchester United did another victory.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. I mean, it was a fascinating game. You and I actually watched this one together, John. It was a fascinating game, although it was slightly spoiled by a red card 4 minutes in. I felt a little bit sad for Manchester United in that moment too, because for what it's worth, they started pretty well in those first 4 minutes, and I was watching that game thinking, is this they've come out here with some acceleration and some power and some excitement, haven't they? But then the red card sort of handed them the game. I think I remember saying 100% this finishes 0-0, and then they scored 2 goals pretty quickly. But they tried very hard to give the game back. As you say, Casemiro got a red card. They conceded 1 to Chelsea in the second half. They were worse than Man City at defending in the low block in the final sort of, 45 minutes of the game. It was bizarre, wasn't it, Reuben?
It was really odd. The weirdest thing I found was Chelsea's reaction to the red card, because you take off an attacker for a goalkeeper, and then you would presume that a team would settle into a 4-4-1, because that seems to be like the most symmetrical, familiar shape that you can play with 10 men. But and taking off Esteval, I completely get that. Youngest player in the team in that weather, I bring him off. Get a blanket around the poor kid. It looked absolutely miserable. But then to take off Pedro Neto for Tosinado Abaya and switch to a back 5, just to me felt a bit like an overreaction, because you're limiting any attacking threat by taking off your quickest player for another defender. And then I'm not sure, were they already 1-0 down at that point?
No, it was 0-0.
It was still 0-0 when
the
that
red
sub
card
was made.
Yeah.
Right, so there's... Yeah, and then obviously that was that. So I guess that goal when United go 1-0 up compounds that substitution. But it felt like a bit too much reaction too early. And then the Palmer one is partly bad luck if he was carrying a knock and then it got aggravated and he had to come off. But as John said when we were discussing this before we started recording, why not use the opportunity to take Palmer off? To bring on your new goalkeeper if he was already carrying a knock. So look, Maresca maybe there's some strange, confusing decisions there. But yeah, I did think United were good until Casemiro decided to, that was the dumbest second yellow.
It was
I've ever
pretty
seen.
stupid, yeah. I have to say, I also thought Manchester United were good, but it was hard to take anything away from the game, John, because Chelsea played with 10 men in the stupidest possible way. They seemed like they were intentionally trying to lose the game. That's why I say I felt a bit bad for Man United fans, because I feel like you can't really come away from this game with a huge amount of positive takeaways.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny that, you go immediately to a very defensive iteration, but then concede 2 goals very quickly after that. I think that's
and then
that
stay
for me
defending.
For me that maybe is the biggest damning indictment of Maresca, that if you know that your team aren't going to be great box defending, then surely you find other ways of trying to prevent the opponent from scoring. I don't know.
At 1-0, it felt as though he was still battening down the hatches. And I remember saying to you, I don't understand why he's thinking about goal difference this early into the season. That's how it felt. It felt as though he was trying to hold on to, keep it a 1-goal margin.
I guess his logic would be Manchester United try and generate chances by creating space in behind, right? Which is exactly how they generated the red card. So maybe he was just thinking, well, if we just sit in now, they just won't be able to break us down. But then they were so poor defensively in both of the goals. There's elements that, and again, you can sort of mitigate it a bit by saying, well, the goalkeeper and the second one should have come out and cleared the ball, but he didn't. But the goalkeeper was only on because the other goalkeeper had been sent off. But then backline behaviour stuff with maybe it's a bit unlucky with the cross going in and then a header, which somehow finds itself. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Dorgu is shooting from the header, but then because Fernandes has moved really smartly, it becomes a good chance, right? And
looked like he was showing Sesko how to play at number 9.
Yeah, but and I guess again from that you sort of have to suggest, well, if you're going for we're going to sit deep and absorb pressure, and then we get caught out immediately by a midfielder being sharper on dropping off the back line than the defenders, then again, isn't that like a coaching issue? But then, the game then swings in the second half to what we'd expect the game to be like anyway, with 11 players on the pitch. And it was just sort of Chelsea now very toothless because they were trying to still build up and attack in the way that they usually do, but rather than having Estevao and Pedro Neto running in behind, it was like Enzo Fernandez having to like jog into the channels and try and do hold-up play, and they weren't committing players forward or anything like that. So it then sort of looked like a very poor decision. But I guess you can't judge a manager on his subs in the knowledge that they later go square with players again. But it did feel to me that they went way too defensive too quickly, and also didn't give any indication that. I mean, even when Tosin Adarabioyo was coming on, I said his name correctly.
Are you sure before you say it?
Yeah,
so
he said.
smartly?
I've heard him say it.
Okay.
Like
yeah. We kept saying this to me on Saturday as well, because you say that the commentators.
I don't understand why people pronounce it that way, because it's like.
What's the difference?
So people say Adarabioyo,
right?
And if you say his name phonetically, it is Adarabioyo.
Yeah.
And that's what he said in the
Adarabioyo
in the Premier League. How do you pronounce your names last season?
Right.
Which I don't know. Maybe he's just. I want to say simplifying it, but I think that's harder to say than Adarabioyo.
Yeah.
But I just wonder where that pronunciation comes from.
I love that you started that section with "I'm right." I pronounced it correctly, and now you're.
I was just surprised that I said
doubt.
it like that. That's all. I didn't expect that.
Adarabioyo.
Adarabioyo. Yeah. But he came on, and he was sort of like this when he came on, just been like, I don't really know. What's going on. And I guess that again, that sort of, to me, that suggests that you're putting your team into a position of a negative position where they're not prepared for. And I think again, that would it be better for you to just risk going with a back four and doing a 4-4-1 like most teams do, and then waiting before you make the decision? But at the same time, if he doesn't make that decision and they concede, people would say, well, should he have gone more defensive?
Sure.
More early. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was a sort of predictable narrative win for Manchester United, Kaya, simply because they have been so bad recently that the only way that football works, we all know, is that they will then go on to beat Chelsea and perturb everyone and confuse everyone. As we said, they played quite well in those first 4 minutes. Did you learn anything about them? Do you think? I thought they came out fast. They seemed aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's put the word "what can we glean" in bold. So
loves the word "glean."
Yeah,
it's the second time he's used the word "glean" recently.
Technically speaking, you wanted to use it in every single episode.
Did I?
Yeah,
I can't have like season-long arcs because I just I forget them.
Do you know what gleaning actually is?
To glean.
Yeah.
To learn something.
No.
Is it to like sift for gold?
I'm starting to doubt myself, but I'm pretty sure that gleaning is it's from the Bible. And it's in the Bible, in the Old Testament, they had to leave bits of crops around the edge of the fields for the poor people to glean, which is like go around and take. So I'm pretty sure there's laws about it. Is that correct?
Google says no.
Current definition is to collect information in small amounts and often with difficulty.
I think we knew, though, that the current definition wouldn't be talking about crops.
In the Old Testament, glean refers to the practice of leaving the edges of fields unharvested and not picking up produce that falls to the ground, allowing the poor, widows, and sojourners to gather the leftover crops for their sustenance.
I just want you to know that there are several jokes that I wish to make about you that I won't, but I will later in private. Okay? And then I'll say something was cut. Yeah.
So what is the information that was left on the ground then?
Yeah, that's it makes sense, right? Yeah. Because like you then have to
what
go
crop
out
are we snaffling on, Kaya? What external
right? Yeah, you want me to talk about football, I guess.
Yeah, crop.
So
Kaya always gets the questions in the most batshit.
I thought Man U are basically set up to be a really good counter-attacking team.
Yeah.
good at exploiting spaces in behind
Uh-huh.
with players like Brian Mbeumo and Mateus Jr. when he's fit.
Mm.
And I thought Brian Mbeumo was brilliant on the day.
Yeah.
And I thought that run in behind was the kind of run that Man U probably should be doing more often. But I think Man U's big issue is when they come up against teams who actually defend against them in lower blocks, which, to be fair, Chelsea did later on, but with a man less and, as we've spoken about, in a weird way.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought Man U showed positive signs. And I think...
I'm just going to stop you there.
You're going to say glean and then let me continue.
Glean.
Thanks.
No, I'm not. I'm going to say, and this is it's because I spend my life telling American executives at The Athletic to not say Man U. I teach them not to because I know that Man United fans don't like that.
Man-ud, sorry.
Man-ud.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Please call them Man-ud.
Man-ud, well, yeah.
Glean.
No, glean. Manchester United have lots of stuff that makes them a good team, which they've not really shown in the early parts of the season. And to be honest, I think it's probably good. There's lots of talk about, does Ruben Amorim still have the players? Are they still with him? And after last week, there was lots of talk that, is this finally the time when they sack him?
Yeah.
The players are still clearly playing for him. So
It does seem
they
like
clearly
that.
believe in what he's trying to do.
Right.
Unlike last season where there was lots of negativity and likes of, Rashford obviously left, Garnacho was having a sulk on the bench, which he did for another team this week.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Amorim still clearly has the backing of the players. Glean, I don't know. Yeah.
Garnacho, who got the Manchester United fans Ronaldo chant repurposed for him a year or two ago, has now had their Carlos Tevez chant repurposed for him. No.
Okay. Well, worth remembering, he's sort of a child, really,
Let's play a quick game because I've got a list in front of me here of the non-penalty expected goals per 90 in the Premier League this season. Who do you think
of all my friends, you know how to start a game.
who do you think is top of the list of the teams for non-penalty expected goals?
Non-penalty XG.
Let's do the top three.
So what
Since
you're asking
when?
is which teams have created the most chances, not including penalties?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. Since when?
Crystal Palace.
This season. Crystal Palace are third.
Oh.
And massive.
Okay, so it's not going to be Arsenal. Liverpool.
No.
Liverpool aren't in there.
Liverpool are seventh.
Spurs.
We can
Spurs.
No, not
Spurs are eighth.
We can rule out Aston Villa because they've only scored one
Aston
goal.
Villa are second bottom
Chelsea.
ahead of Leeds. No, Chelsea are fourth.
Man United have had a lot of shots.
Man United are
What did
second.
you just call them? Sorry,
Man United.
was that not what you were telling me?
No,
about?
it's Man U.
Oh,
You
don't
can't
care.
say.
Yeah. Man-ud.
I love the energy with which you
I
tried
was
to
so
come at me
ready.
there. You really were.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It was all but you jumping over the table.
Yeah.
No, specifically Man U.
Man U.
It's
Okay.
because of some ancient chants which are not nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
So Man United are second, Palace are third.
Yeah.
I did hear this, by the way,
That's this season.
This is
just to
this
dither
season.
in the game. Like I was listening to, it was the Totally Football show. I can't remember if it was Daniel's story. It was the episode that went out on Sunday a couple of days ago. Daniel's story, or one of the other guys on there, reeled off a list of statistics, metrics in which Manchester United were performing very positively, first or second league wide in many of these areas. So interesting. Food for
They're
thought.
actually top of the list if you include penalties, I think.
Really?
Man C in second.
Man City.
Is it Man
third.
City?
Man City are top.
Man
They're
City.
top.
Of non-penalty expected goals.
That's just because they played Wolves.
Yeah, I guess so. I know. Well, Manchester United played Burnley, didn't they? And
Yeah.
I guess that they got quite a chunk in that game. It's obviously very early on, but yeah, I
The
think.
big surprise there, though, is Crystal Palace, right? Or maybe it's not a surprise.
Well, yeah, exactly. Is it a surprise?
Palace have played West Ham
Yeah.
most recently. So there you go.
Crystal Palace, Reuben, have not lost a game in all competitions for 17 games.
Yeah.
They last lost on the 16th of April, which was a 5-0 to Newcastle at St James's Park. And the two remaining unbeaten records in the Premier League come to blows this weekend as Palace play Liverpool at 3 p.m. on Saturday.
I'll
So
be there.
Liverpool currently undefeated in this existing Premier League season. Palace undefeated for 17 games.
Which includes a Community Shield against Liverpool and a cup final against City.
Yeah, an FA Cup final. How the hell has this happened?
Rock solid defence, really well coached system. Bit of star magic in there. Matessa's transformation.
Yeah,
and a bit of star quality in each area of the pitch. Gay, Wharton, Eze before he left, Mateta. But it's all Glasner. And this 3-4-3 with the settled back three, which is why it was so important for us to keep Mark Gay at the end of the summer with no time to replace him. It's the consistency of that back five, really, including Munoz and Mitchell, that gives Palace the platform to take points off big teams. Because like in those 17 games, there are 10 draws, 2 of which led to penalty shootout wins, but still. So it's not like it's not necessarily Champions League form, although Palace are 5th on so far this season. But yeah, it's just a really well coached system. You see, in contrast to say Manchester United's back three, they play in theory the same shape as Glasnow's Palace, but the outside centre backs and the number 10s have great relationships with the central midfielders spatially. So Hughes, Wharton, Lerma, whoever's playing in there, they never really look hung out to dry like midfielders do in a sort of 2 that United play sometimes.
Fernandes and Casemiro.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all Glasnow really. And when he took over, Palace had been playing a back 4 under Hodgson, but Daniel Munoz had just arrived. And without that signing, this would be very difficult to implement the wing back system. But Mitchell's done really well to adapt to a more attacking role. Chalobah got taken out and went back to Chelsea, and Richards had to come in, but has turned out to be, for Palace, in what they want that position to do, I would say better, despite how well Chalobah's doing at Chelsea now. So yeah, it's not one single factor, but just a real gritty togetherness as well as some star quality.
You'll be glad to hear that as I watched Saturday's games with Jon Mackenzie and the conversation of who could be Manchester United's next manager came up. I wonder if it was in order to try to deter people from from your Bournemouth man, Andoni Areola.
That's Bradford.
John was suggesting, along with our friend who works in football who was there, that Oliver Glasner might be a natural next step for Manchester United.
Because United have started to build a back 3 squad.
Because of that.
Yeah, I mean, could work. If Glasner were to go to United and they still were bad in that shape, then it would show that it's the toxicity of the club and not Super Oli Glasner.
If Manchester United were to look at the Opta expected points table for the Premier League this season, they would see Crystal Palace top of the league and expected points.
Really?
Wow. Would they really?
And then think, well, we're only down in 7th, so maybe Glasner is the upgrade.
As you say, the top 3 for expected goals, non-penalty inclusion, 2 of those teams are playing back 3s, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
System.
Who's the other one? Oh.
Palace
was that
United.
expected points, John? Just a quick one.
This was expected points, yeah. So it's Palace, then Arsenal, then Bournemouth.
Wow.
Then Man City, then Chelsea, then Liverpool.
So even in expected points, Arsenal is still second.
Yes.
Good to know. It's good to
Why
know.
don't you go shag the back 3 system again?
Whoa!
It's okay, Kai. It's okay.
back
Don't let me
three.
get to you. I've got your back, very literally.
That was so unnecessarily aggressive from me. I don't know where that came from.
It's because you got the Man United thing wrong.
You do really like the 3-4-3 though, to be fair.
Well, I mean, I love
it.
a system that creates XG at non-penalty rates so high.
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. So Crystal Palace are going to finish first then, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, that's nailed on now.
Right.
Well,
Palace
after unless they draw on Saturday, there will be only one team with an unbeaten record after Saturday at 3:00, and it will be Palace.
Unless they draw, yeah.
Unless they draw.
Yeah.
That's still unbeaten though, isn't it?
Yeah. But Palace and Liverpool would retain their records this season.
Yeah.
So points would be good for Palace at Saturday, 3:00.
I f***ing hate these segues that he does. You know what is coming.
What's happening?
He just segued you to points.
He just said, so points would be good.
I actually genuinely wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Really
He always finds a way of doing a good
Genuinely
transitioning
wasn't
into, however, the opposite of good.
What do you want from me, Steve?
Points are bad.
Oh, you want me to do points are bad? Okay, yeah. Well, we were going to talk about the Merseyside derby, but it's slipped off the radar here, hasn't it? Congratulations to Liverpool for being unbeaten, of course.
Gravenberch, good.
Yeah,
That's that bit done.
Gravenberch, good. Well done, everyone involved. I'm sure we'll talk about them a lot more this season. Let's play points are bad. Now, It's been a very interesting week, hasn't it? I have to say, there is one quite big loser from last week. I can't imagine why he would have picked the fixtures, the results that he did. We'll get him in a moment, shall we? I think we should probably wait until after we've announced how badly he did.
Yeah.
Okay. The big loser from last week, of course, is JJ, who added 11 points. The next worst was me and you, John, who added 3. Reuben and Kaya, you both added 2. Congratulations.
Nice.
And the 1-1 bot had a terrific week. The 1-1 bot had a real good week. By the way, just as some evidence of the cultural penetration of Points a Bad game, it really surprised me. Yesterday, I just did a silly tweet I very rarely tweet, but I did a silly one yesterday immediately after the Arsenal-Man City game, saying, well, the real winner was Points a Bad 1-1 bot. And hundreds and hundreds of engagements on that. There you go. People are into the 1-1 bot. That's what that tells me, John, because that's how I've chosen to interpret the data. Yeah. Anyway, the 1-1 bot had a terrific week, adding just 1.
There's a lot of people suggesting that we should try and oust the 1-1 bot by picking games that would be higher scoring. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that would be fiddling the numbers, wouldn't it?
A bit, maybe.
Not really. You're just picking games. In theory, every game is most likely to finish 1-1.
I don't think that's true.
Right, but how?
I think it's 2-1.
Oh, okay, right. But
I think statistically speaking,
it's 1 and a.
It's 2-1. It's just in our game because the scores are considered
so the issue with that
separately.
is that obviously 2-1 goes both ways, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you split it in half, if we had a 2-1 bot one way, it would probably still be less successful than the 1-1 bot.
But if you had a 2-1 home advantage bot,
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But by trying,
maybe next season,
by trying to outmaneuver the 1-1 bot by picking games that you think are going to be high scoring, you're still going off a hunch of I think there's going to be goals in that game, which is very difficult to predict.
I think someone pointed out that I think Juventus are conceding 4 goals and scoring 4 goals in almost every game at the moment. So
they did draw 4-4 with Dortmund. It was
we should pick some Juve games.
The thing is, if one wanted to poke holes in the rules of Points Bad,
true,
one could, which is why JJ Bull has been punished this week. and it's as simple as that. This is a game that you play with feeling, with honour, with love, and without cynicism.
And with respect.
And with respect. If you play Points Bad with cynicism, it simply doesn't work. It's a bad game.
Cynicism
I think
is bad.
I think it was pretty poor to allow Alex to do that again.
Again, I know. But I think what we've done, Reuben, we partly did it for you, is to establish throughout the season that if anyone takes any of their allotted holiday, Alex Barker will punish them.
To be fair, when he
it's like when Casemiro got sent off, you just evening.
Yeah, it's evening out. Yeah.
To be fair, when he did it for you, he was doing it in the spirit of the game.
That's true.
Whereas when he did it for JJ last week, it was me and Joe pushing him further.
I don't remember
He was
that.
listening. I don't think that's what happened. I think he felt within his heart.
Yeah. Don't worry, John. You'll be going on holiday soon enough.
Alex, deep in his soul, he is a troll. He loves to wind
I'd
people
say
up.
pretty much on the surface.
Yeah.
Very close to the surface. Okay, anyway, those are the scores this week. That does mean that JJ needs to pick the game, Steve. So can you summon him in?
I shall
He's
summon
outside.
JJ, yes.
Great. Oh, in the meantime, Reuben, you got a perfect prediction. You predicted 2-1 Barcelona. Well done.
2-1 bot. Am I right?
The
With
2-1
that,
away bar.
With that beautiful Marcus Rashford brace.
Yeah, congratulations.
Cracking goal, wasn't it?
That was lovely. Hey, JJ,
Good evening.
come over here.
Okay.
Can you kneel?
Can I?
It's quite painful.
All right, great. So I don't know if you know, but you added the most points last week, 11.
That seems like a lot.
It is a lot. Alex Barker played for you,
Uh-huh.
and you were punished.
Why didn't you phone me like you phone everyone else?
Because you were on holiday.
But you would still phone other people, wouldn't you?
Not if they were actually on holiday.
Well, feels like. Well, we'll see. Fine.
Anyway, this means that you get to pick the fixtures for this week.
What did he say my scores were last week?
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll tell you another time. Right. Here's some fixtures you could choose from. Can you see those?
Yeah. Which ones do I want? Okay. Newcastle, Arsenal, and Everton, West Ham.
Newcastle, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham. You got that, Steve?
I fear these are going to play into the hands of the 1-1 bot.
Everton, West Ham, yeah. And that's where... So Everton at home, Newcastle at home, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Newcastle, Arsenal, JJ.
I watched that Newcastle-Bournemouth game. Not very exciting. I suspect they won't score. Arsenal kind of relying on set pieces. I'll go 0-0, I think.
What was the other game you said? Everton, West Ham.
Yeah.
Oh, the thing is, that
Everton, West Ham, JJ.
Everton, West Ham. I think.
You've been punished.
I think.
What do you actually think?
I mean, I think it's probably a draw. Well, Everton should maybe get a win because they're at home, but I think because West Ham. Does it matter that this is on a Monday? And that's when it's after the podcast to be filmed.
Yeah, it does. That does matter. That's
Yeah,
a good point.
it's
You
changed.
noticed that. Yeah. Can you pick a different game?
Yeah, I'll pick another game. I think I will go for.
Don't just look at games you think will be 0-0. No, that's not fair. In which case,
Do Palace Liverpool.
yeah, do Crystal Palace Liverpool. That's on Saturday.
Oh, that's good.
Because we just discussed before you came in here that those are the two teams with their remaining unbroken runs. Palace's is up to 17 now. You know that?
They're both unbroken runs.
Crystal Palace have not lost a game for 17 games
Since April.
in all competitions.
Wow.
Liverpool obviously have a 100% record in the Premier League so far.
I mean, the only sensible thing to conclude from that is that they're likely to draw. And so
I mean,
Liverpool have to stop scoring at some point. I think I'm going to go with 0-0.
Get out. All right, that's JJ. He's got 0-0. Thank you, JJ. Right, Newcastle, Arsenal. Who predicts next? Let's see. Next in the running. Oh, John, it's you and me. I have to say the overall scores have you ahead of me, so that means that I get to predict.
Very close,
first.
isn't it?
It is close, yeah.
If we ignore the 1-1 bot.
If we ignore the 1-1 bot, it is pretty close, yeah. Okay, so me, Arsenal, Newcastle.
Newcastle Arsenal at
Arsenal,
St James's
yeah.
Park.
Newcastle, Arsenal at St James's Park.
That famous atmosphere.
Oh, that's a really tough one to predict, actually. That's really
A bit
tough.
of a bogey
The
team for
annoying thing is
Arsenal.
0-0 is a really good prediction for that game.
I'd say that's true,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to say 1-0 Arsenal. I believe in Arsenal.
Okay.
And then Crystal Palace, Liverpool,
At Selhurst.
1-0 Palace.
Ooh.
I think that's
Why?
the case because I think Liverpool are going to stumble at some point, and
Fair enough.
and what better team to stumble to than the team that have been unbeaten for 17
Annoying because
games?
now I can't predict that.
You could predict 5-0 Palace if you
Yeah.
want. Anyway, John, you're up next. Newcastle, Arsenal. It's hard. These are both hard.
I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
That's quite a lot of goals at St James's Park.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Crystal Palace, Liverpool.
I think 3-2 to Liverpool
Wow.
with a
Wow.
goal in the last 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay, fine. All right, that's very exciting. Kaya and Reuben, you guys shared the spoils from last week. However, Kaya, you're 1 point ahead in the league. So it means we start with Reuben. Reuben, Newcastle, Arsenal.
Well, Newcastle have a League Cup game midweek as well.
That's interesting.
And after they played against Barcelona in the Champions League, they played a rotated side against Bournemouth and didn't quite look their energetic selves. So I will say 2-0 to Arsenal.
2-0 to Arsenal. Okay. And then the Eagles versus Liverpool.
I would have gone 1-0 Palace, even though I don't really think that's going to happen because it's what I want to happen. So in a kind of soften the blow, hedge your bets kind of way, I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool.
1-0 Liverpool. Okay. And then Kaya, over to you for the final picks. Newcastle, Arsenal.
All the good scores for that are gone, aren't they?
That's what happens when you're good at the game, my friend.
Yeah.
If you want to pick first, you've got to do badly.
Yeah, I've tried.
Gonna get Barker on for you if you want to pick first.
I'm the only one not to be barkered so far. Let's go 1-0 to Newcastle because it's the only one left. I think
Wow,
really
these
that's
two
within the realms
putting
of...
points about above their club loyalty.
Wow. Absolutely
win.
incredible. Okay, Crystal Palace versus Liverpool.
So 2-1. Did someone say 2-1 to Palace?
No, that's
No.
available.
Yeah, let's have that.
Wow. Okay. So Kaya will be picking first next week. Then. Good to know. I can tell you that the scores as they stand so far, I'm still in last place despite JJ's terrible week. Although I'm now joined by JJ. The two of us are on 27 points. Reuben, you're just ahead on 26. Kaya, you're just ahead on 25. John, you're also on 25. And the 1-1 bot is starting to get adrift, I would say, out the front there on 18. Oh, good Lord. Okay, well, John, you're our best hope to catch the 1-1 bot, because Kaya's now predicted Crystal Palace to win 2-1 against Liverpool.
You predicted them to win 1-0.
I know, but I wasn't our best hope of catching the 1-1 bot, so I could do whatever I want.
I've gone 3-2 Liverpool, which feels like a bold pick as well.
I think I can see that happening, though. I can see that happening.
I like how close it is at the moment.
I
I'm
hope it
just
stays
relieved
close.
that I've recovered from being barkered.
Yeah.
That's the power of Barker, though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
impressive.
The power of Barker is he helps us stay close. If only we could get him to trip up the 1-1 bot, then we'd be fine.
He could do that if he picked likely high-scoring games.
That's true.
So that's what we need to do.
That's
Get
true.
him on for whoever loses next week.
Okay, we can game the system. Now I understand.
Your own system that you made up the rules to.
Yes. I think I'm the centre of the universe. Is that not the case?